So, okay, this picture represents it's the summarization of the Scrum. Okay, everything that you need to know. My advice is print this picture and use while you memorize the process. But the process is very easy. Okay, it does not have nothing complicated. Now we start to talk about each phase. Okay, exactly each phase. The first is the Scrum sprint. Okay, is the set a period of time during which specific work has to be completed and made ready for review. Okay, you cannot. If I will talk that you have at the end of the sprint, you have a meeting. Okay, when you show the result of your work to for the customer. Okay, and you didn't present to the customer, you didn't show to the customer. You only in this meeting that I talked with later, you only present the work that you finalize. If you didn't finalize it, you didn't present. Okay. So the sprint is a set of period time during which specific work has to be completed and made ready for review. Again, it's analogous to sprint program iterations. Okay, it's the same thing. And typical duration is 2 or 4 weeks. Okay, we use in our course I didn't know any place that you use more or less than 2 weeks. Okay, 50 days the time that usually the people use. Has the constant duration leads to better risk. Okay, it's very important. You didn't change the time. You did you start the Scrum project, and the sprint has 2 weeks. You keep 2 weeks until the end of the project. If you think, for example, for your group, 2 weeks is not good. I prefer to 1 week, or it's much better to have 1 month. Okay, nice for the next project, not for this project. You didn't change because you use the amount of work that you develop during the sprint to calibrate the story point and to calibrate the performance, individual performance of each member that you have in the project. If you change for example, the one sprint is 1 week, or 2 other sprints is 2 weeks, you cannot calibrate or you cannot measure the performance of the team, you cannot measure the performance of the sprint. Okay. During the sprint, the project is designed, coded, and tested during the sprint. Okay. You need to perform the 3 tasks during one sprint. It's the amazing thing because, for example, maybe you have a user store, and in this user store that you have now, you need, for example, 5 weeks to implement. Okay. What it means? It means that you need to rewrite your user store. For example, if you have a user store that when you measure, you estimate how many time you need, and you see that you need more than 1 sprint, you need to split this user store in 2, 3, 4 user stores, because a user store, in our case, need to be developed in 1 sprint. Did you understand? Yeah.
Yes.
There are some golden rules. The first golden rule is no changes are made that would endanger the sprint goal. Okay, you define the sprint goal. Okay, when you define the sprint goal, it happens in the planning phase. You define the sprint goal. When you define the sprint goal, consequently, you define which user store you work and which task is required to implement the sprint goal. You cannot change. For example, if the customer say, "Oh, I think better, and my goal is different now." Okay, it's different, but you need to wait to the end of the sprint. You cannot change the sprint goal during the sprint. Okay, the customer only can change the goal of the sprint in the next sprint. Quality does not decrease. You cannot replace quality for delivery. Again, at the end of the sprint, you need to have a done project, a done product, or done artifact. What it means? You design, you implement, you test, and you document. You document the artifact. Okay. The product backlog is defined as need. You can change the product backlog. Again, the product backlog is the list of user story that you need to implement in the project. And you can refine the product backlog because the idea of the Agile's methodology is I will understand better what the user wants during the project, not in the beginning, but during the project. And if you understand, maybe you write one user story when you, after 2 months, you say, it's not exactly what the user wants. I need to change. You change, it's okay. Scope may be clarified and renegotiate with the product owner as more is learning. The product owner will talk about it in the next slides. The product owner is the guy that represents the customer inside the project. Okay, it's a profile in the project called product owner, the PO. The PO is the guy that represents the customer in the project. And you can negotiate the scope and the things during the project. It's the idea. You can't say, in the beginning of the project, when I create the product backlog, I thought that the idea is to develop A. However, now, after we'll talk a lot with you, after 2 months, I think that's not A, but A plus B. It's okay for you? Oh, it's okay. There is change in the delivery time? No, there is not. There is change in the cost? Yes, a little. Okay, we analyze the cost, the change in the cost. Okay? There are, in the Scrum team, you have specific rules that you can perform. The first, the PO. The PO is the product owner, is the guy that represents the customer inside the project. Okay. This guy defines the features of the product, define the requirements, decide the release date and the content. Okay. It decides what is the goal. Okay. The first thing, the goal is blah, blah, blah. The second thing is the goal is blah, blah, blah. Okay. The PO is responsible for it. Be responsible for the profitability of the product, the ROI, prioritize the features according to market value, adjust the features and priority every iteration as needed, and accept and reject the work. The meeting that you have at the end is you present the things to PO, and the PO define, okay, the artifact approved the artifact or deny the artifact. What is important is PO is a very important rule in the project, in the Agile project, in the Scrum project. And because he is the responsible for, when the company defined the project, the company thought, I want to have this result at the end of the project. PO is the guy that is responsible to conduct the project to achieve the end of the project. Okay. And my question is, I believe you have this question. PO is a guy from the company, from the customer. Is the guy that works for the customer? Not at all. It's very common to PO is a position that the customer, the guy that occupies this position is from the customer. But there are companies that is very, very big companies that you don't have this position. This position is from the development team. Okay. However, this guy in the development team defend the things from the customer. Okay. You have the both situation. Any question about the PO? The second one is the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master represents the manager to the project. Okay, it's not the boss of the team. Represent the man. What's the management? The techniques. Okay, the methodology. This guy represents the methodology inside the project. Okay, is this guy responsible to perform the meetings, to organize the meetings? This guy is responsible to conduct the meetings. Okay, we talk about a lot of different meetings, and this guy is responsible to. Okay, Misael, what can you start your report? Oh, Abraham, can you start your report? Okay, it's the guy. Remove the impediments. Okay, it's the guy, for example, my computer does not run, for example, because I don't have enough memory. Okay, the Scrum Master is the guy that is responsible to try to fix this problem, to try to find a new computer, or to try to, I don't know, to try to fix the things that block you to finalize your task. It's the guy that ensures that the team is fully functional and productive. Okay, it's the guy that enables close cooperation across all rules and functions. Okay, Scrum Master talk a lot. It's the guy that talks. It's the guy that talk a lot. He talks with the PO all the time. What do you think about it, PO? The team plans to do something. What do you think? Okay, Scrum Master is the guy that talks with the company, the customer, sometimes, and the Scrum Master is the guy that talks with the team. Okay. Shield the team from the external interferences. Okay. It's very common in the teams. For example, you have a company, and as I said, there are situations that you don't have the complete team to work. For example, database administrator is a very expensive position, and you share this guy with multiple projects. The time that this guy works in the project is the Scrum Master responsible to shield this guy from the other projects, okay? But he's not a boss. You have a team. A team has typically 5 to 9 people. It's cross-functional. You have programmers, testers, user experience design, and others. Members should be full-time, okay? Much of you need to, it's a good idea to have members in full-time, but you have some exception like database administrator. Teams are self-organizing, okay? There's no titles if it's possible. And membership should change only between the sprints. Okay, you start a sprint with a team. You cannot move a person. You cannot change the guys. You cannot insert new guys during the sprint, only in the next sprint. This picture here represents well what is the Scrum and what is not a Scrum team. Okay, here you have a pig and a chicken talks to about a hands and eggs restaurant. And the chicken said, okay, hey, pig, I was thinking we should open a restaurant. Oh, I don't know. What will we call it? I think something how about hands and eggs? And the pig said, no thanks. I'd be committed, but you only involved. It's what happens. It's what really happens. You can, in this Scrum team, if the one guy fail, the team fail, okay? You need to be committed. You cannot be only involved, okay? So, now, we developed the first activity, the activity 1, okay? To perform this activity, I ask him to open a browser, okay? And because I need to that everybody knows how to use these tools and how to apply these things, okay? After we work in the groups, but now we work alone, okay? So how this activity works. I will present. You have this presentation in the Canvas. Okay, you have this presentation. Give me a second. Yeah, you have this presentation here. Okay, Unit 3, Project Management Process 2, and the version, Spanish version. Okay. And what I do is, I will explain step by step, okay, show here. And after it, I will open the breakout room. You enter in your group, okay? And the idea is, you perform the same task in your group. Oh, you don't need to finalize the task. You need to perform the task, but for example, oh, I don't have the real user store here created. No, don't worry about it. You only, what I want is you test and try to do these things using the tool. Do you understand?
Not very well, teacher. Can you repeat? Sorry.
I believe it's clear when I present the activity. Okay, I will present again the I will show the activity, and after I will explain again. I believe you got better the idea. Okay, so uh, to organize to demonstrate the a Scrum process. Okay, you use a tool. Okay, to support our work. I need a tool? No, I believe you don't need it. But now, because the COVID, because you are only online, it's a good idea to have a tool to support your work. Okay, and a good tool to support agile project is the Jira. Okay, Jira is not free. I'm sorry. The Jira is proprietary. Okay, however, until 10 users. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, stop your work, my pointer. Amazing. Yes. Okay, don't worry. Okay, Jira is a proprietary tool. However, until 10 users, you don't need to pay nothing. Okay, and you can work in a in a in a project like you will develop here. Okay, it's amazing too because the focus is agile. Okay, and because it's agile, you have the artifact that is required to work. For example, you have the boards, you have the creation of backboard logs, roadmap, reports, and others. The first thing that you need to do is create a free account in Jira, okay? And for each group, okay, the first step is for each group, you define the guy that assumed the Scrum Master, okay? One of in your group, one guy now will become a Scrum Master, and the other is the team. Okay, this guy will share your screen and create your account in the Jira. Okay, and this guy send invitation for the other. In other words, everybody will create a free account in the Jira. Sorry, the Scrum Master will create the account in the Jira and send an invitation. You show how to other guys, and the other guys, you accept the invitation and enter in the Jira. Okay. So after you create your account, you will create the project. Okay. You click here or you click here. Okay. The both case works. When you click here, you open here and you create the project. When you create the project, the first thing that you appease is you want to create a Kanban, you want to create a Scrum, or you want to create a bug track. You select a Scrum. The next, you need to select the project type. You select the team managed project type. And you put the name of the project. The name here is the name that I created, okay, to make this class. You put any name, okay? Oh, Smart trash, the name that you put the name of the project that you need to develop in the rep. It's a the Jira you propose one a key for you. Okay, you can change. The Jira you ask about to add or does not add the Confluence. The Confluence is like a Google Drive, or it's like a Word. Okay, you can connect or does not connect. Okay, it's optional. I suggest that you connect because you can document your work inside the Jira. And if you need to generate, for example, a doc sheet, you can export the document that you generate here to outside. Okay, after you create the project, you will add the members. To add the members, you need to, after you create, it's the screen that you see, okay? You see the picture, the form that you see is something like that, okay? And what you need to do is you go to project settings. In the project settings, you click in access. In the access, you add the members. How you add the members? You put the name here or the email address in this field, members, and add, and clicking add people, okay? What the Scrum Master will do in this step? You get the mail from the other students, okay, of the members of the group, and add all members in the group, okay? Okay, to define the type of member is administrator, member, or viewer, and it's the things that I ask you to do, okay? What you will do now? What I ask you to do now? Give me a second, please. Okay, what you do now? I open the breakout rooms, just check if the breakout rooms organized. No. iPhone does not save the rooms that I created. Give me a second, please. Please, YouTube. Oh, give me a second. I don't know why Zoom delete. Okay, I will create the breakout rooms, okay? And give me a second, please. Hi guys, sorry about that. I have a problem with my son here. So again, I created the breakout rooms now. I created. However, I didn't put the guys inside. Okay, I will open the breakout room. You enter in your specific breakout room. okay? And you perform the task. You select one guy to become a Scrum Master. And I remember that you can change this position, it's only for this test, okay? One guy will become the Scrum Master. And this guy will create the project, okay? Create your account in the system. And create your account, create the project, and invite the other guys to the project, okay? It's the task, the first task, okay? When you finalize this task, you return to the main room, okay? You'll give 10 minutes to create this task, okay? Just only, I remember you that I believe the link is in the link is in the link, I believe is in the presentation, but I share here the link of the tools, okay? Any question? Do you know what you need to do? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Are there somebody that does not know where your group, or everybody knows which group is? I share my screen here, just want to make a double check if you know, okay? The Robo God is Abraham, Armando, Luiz, Alfonso, Guilhermo, Isabel, Alejandro, Edzi, Iot, Ivan, Carla, Jesus, Eduardo, Luiz Ernesto, Humberto, Campo Mundo, Aranza, Maria, Gael, Alfonso, Vitória, Ailton, Catalina, Diego, Emiliano, Carla, Sofia, and Megabits, Misael, Rodrigo, Otávio, Luiz Angel, and Nectar. Okay? So, again, I will open the breakout room, and you will have no more than 10 minutes to perform the task, okay? If you finish, you will return to the main room, okay? Okay, the breakout room is open, okay? Please join for your group. Okay, guys. If you who cannot finalize the test, give me a sign. Just on the groups. All the groups finalize. Okay. So a second. So now I will start to know the, dif the different artifacts that you need to generate during the Scrum sprint. Okay. The first one we already told about it is the product backlog. In the other way, the product backlog is the requirements. Okay. List of all desired work on the project. Okay. It's not the list of all desired tasks, but list of the desired work or the final result or the final expectation about the project. Ideally expressed such that each item has value to the user of customers. Okay. The user store. In our case, the product backlog is you have a list of the user store. The user store is important to be valued, it's important, need to be valued to the user. Okay, our focus is the user. And after you finalize the product backlog, the PO will prioritize it. Okay, good. For example, it's the most important, it's not so important, and so on. Okay, each sprint, the PO back to the product backlog and reprioritize the backlog. Okay, check what you finish, what you have, the business situation, and see. Oh, now what important is not a problem. For example, in the first sprint, you have the user store one is the most important. Okay, that you have in the product backlog. 2 months later, the user store one is not the most important, is the second important. It's not a problem because the product backlog is a live artifact. So what we'll do now, we return to the breakout room, okay, and we'll create the product backlog. How we'll do it, okay? If you already wrote the user store to solve the first activity, the first task, you can use the description of the user store to save inside the backlog. If you didn't finalize, create one to training, because the idea here is to training, okay? To training and to see the general process. Sorry, I'm recording. Yes. The idea here is only to understand the general process, how to create the product backlog, okay? But if you already have, you can use the material that you have. If you don't have, create one just on to train. To create a backlog, I believe after you finalize the project, you enter in this, you have this picture here after you create the project. If you don't have, you just only need to click here in the backlog, okay? And when you have the backlog, you need to create an issue, okay? It's not possible to see, I believe you can see, I don't know. You have two parts of fields, this one and others here, okay? The first one is the sprint. It's the place that you save the sprint, you plan the sprint. And the second one is where you create the backlog, okay? If you see here, backlog place, okay? What you do is create an issue. You have 3 types of issue. You can have the store, the test, app, and bug. In our case, you select the store, okay? And at least create only 3 tasks, okay? I create three questions, it's a very generic, it's only this example, okay? You can use this example to create, because the idea is not to create user store. The focus is to save this information in the Jira. Okay. So you add the user store, and when you add the user store, and when you click on the user store, in the right side you open a form like that. Okay. And in this form, you can add a new app, okay? Don't do it now, okay? And you can describe the user store that you already create, okay? When you put a description, you put labels, for example, remember, all your store you organize in 3 layers: cloud, ad, and device, okay? You can put label cloud, you can put any label that you want, okay? The label is important, for example, to search. I want to search how your store related to the cloud. You make a search and you're looking for the labels, okay? The only thing that I ask to create for each user store is a short description and put a label that describe one or more of the labels that describe that user store, okay? Okay, it's our test now. Okay, again, create a backlog, open the backlog, and create at least 3 user store and save inside the backlog. For each user store, you define a short description and the one label. Okay, on it. Any questions? No?
No.
Okay.
And it.
Again, I will open a breakout room, and please enter 10 minutes and return. Okay? Okay, guys. If you didn't have time to finalize, don't worry, we'll have time in the next exercise, okay? Uh, I would like to go a little ahead and to give a break, okay? And so until here, you create the backlog, okay? You didn't, again, you have before you start the process, uh, you need to have a planning phase where you create the backlog. The backlog, the product backlog is the required input to start the sprint, the scrum, okay? So again, but you have the sprint backlog, okay? You create the product backlog, okay? If a list of the user store, and you have a meeting, you explain about this meeting later. You have a meeting that you need to translate the product backlog to sprint backlog. In some cases, you only move the item in the backlog product backlog to the sprint backlog, and it's enough. But again, the user store is not a very good item to use to work. Okay, it's much better to get a user store and describe the user store in test. Okay, for two reasons. First reason, you can, if you create tests for each user store, you can, for example, maybe in your team, you have a guy that is more comfortable to create tests, or you have a guy that's only working the test. Okay. If you put the user store, complete user store, and allocate this guy needs to design, to implement and create tests and document the code. Okay. It's the reason that it's much better to get one user store and create the tests that support this user store. And in the in the sprint backlog, you have the user store and the correlated tests. Okay. Another problem that most of the time user store has in the beginning in the product backlog is you have user store, a lot of big user store that you need more than one sprint to work. Again, a good idea is to split the user store in the small user store and use this small user store to fill the sprint backlog. Any questions you hear? Did you understand? Yes or no, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So as I said, you need to define a sprint goal. Where's my pointer? I don't hear. Okay, you need to define the sprint goal. Okay, what is sprint goal? It's a short statement. What is the work you'll be focusing during the sprint? Okay, some examples: the life science support feature necessary for population genetics studies database. Make the application run on the SQL Server in addition to Oracle. Financial service. Support more technical indicators than the company ABC with real-time stream data. In other words, it's a short statement that describes the focus of the sprint. The first meeting that you have is the sprint plan meeting. Okay. In the sprint plan meeting, you have two items to do. The first is the sprint prioritization. Okay. And you analyze, evaluate the product backlog, and select the prior sprint goal. Okay. Follow, you start to work in the planning. And the planning you will do, decide how to acquire the sprint goal. In other way, decide which user story you need to implement to attend or to acquire the sprint goal. Create the sprint backlog, okay, in other words, the task from the product backlog items from the user store, and estimate the sprint backlog in hours or in story points. Okay, we use story points. In the sprint plan meeting, you need to do these two tasks: sprint goal and the sprint backlog. And the constraints to this task is the team capacity. The team capacity will define how many user store you can work in the same sprint. The product backlog, business condition that you define the prioritization, what you do. The current product define what you can do, because again, you need to improve the product sprint by sprint. And the technology. Sprint planning, again, you need to get one in the store and create the task. For example, as a vacation planner, I want to see photos of the hotels. First thing, what I missed here in this user store? Do I have the who? Yes or no?
Yes.
Do I have the what?
Yes.
Yes. You missed the for what? Or
Yes, the why. Exactly. Okay. But now I have what and who. I can create the task. So to implement this user store, what I need to do? First, I need to code the media trial. I need to code the user interface. I need to write the test fixture. I need to code the full class. I need to update the performance test. Did you see it? I need to describe all tests that I need to do related to the user store and define the amount of time that I will perform. The amount of time that is required to perform this test. Okay, we talk about this estimation late. Okay, but what's important here? Okay, I translate the user store in a set of tasks. In the sprint planning, the team select the items from the product backlog, and then they can commit to completing. It's not to select what I will do. No, what I will really do. The common problem in the immaturity team is you select more user store, more items in the product backlog that is you are able to complete. Okay. In the first sprint it's okay, in the second sprint it's okay, but in the third it's not okay. You need to fix, to adjust your estimation. The sprint backlog is created, tasks are identified, and it is estimated. You need to define the task and need to estimate the task. It's a task collaborative task. The Scrum Master support the team to define the task, but it's not right. The Scrum Master does not write the task. It's the team together that write the task. Okay. The Scrum Master does not define the task. What the team will do. Scrum Master support the team to find the task. Okay. So the next part, you create the test, you need to create the estimation. We use the story point to estimate the task. The good thing the story point is, it's very hard to measure things like using hours. For example, think the situation. You have one task that you never did before, but you have another task that you already did. Okay, you know how many times you use to perform the test, but you don't know exactly how many hours you spend to work in specific another test. Story points is a good idea because when you compare things, for example, I know how many times I use to create the login form, but I don't know how many times I need to create the database, for example. But I know how many hours I need to create the login form. What I can do? I can compare. It's the same difficult? No. It's the same risk? No. Oh, yes. If it is the same, I can use the same amount of time. But it's not the same. It's hard to define, okay, it's 2 times worse, or I will spend 2 times more. It's the reason that you use not use a ranging, a different type of ranging. In our case here is a Fibonacci. For example, Fibonacci use 1, 2, 3, 5, 5 and 3, 8, and so on. Okay. When you use this type of ranging, it's more easy to compare, because how many times? Oh, it's much more difficult to implement it. Okay, you can use, for example, 13. No, it's more hard. Okay, 5. It's the same. It's 1. Okay, it's more easy to find. A lot of times, there are groups that you use a story point corresponding a little one ideal man day, like 8-hour work. Okay, it's a good idea to start to measure the user store, or to define the story point, but maybe in the future you need to improve, because 8 hours is not is a lot. Maybe 4 hours is much better to define one story point. Okay. I will just check if I share my audio to give myself. Yeah. I would like to watch this video, okay? And this video is explain how to calculate story points. In the general way, this video presents, okay, you have an activity that you really know how many times you use to work, to perform. And you have others that you don't know, do not know, okay? And this video explaining how to use comparison to try to find the correct story point, okay? Pay attention, please.
There is different ways when talking about estimating. We either use relative value or absolute value. Relative complexity is easier to judge than absolute one. Look at these 2 dogs. If I ask you which one weighs more than the other, pretty easy, right? But what about if I ask you to tell me how many pounds does each one weigh? This is harder, right? Relative estimation means that we judge how big or complex a task is with respect to other tasks. And one of the units of complexity that can be used in this kind of estimation is the story point. So a story point is a number that tells the team about the effort required to implementing a given user story. One of the important reasons to use the story point estimation instead of absolute estimation in hours or Mondays is that the absolute estimation has a kind of an emotional attachment to it. If you estimate a task to take 10 hours and it ended up taking you 30 hours, then what do you tell your manager? Why did you take more time than planned? This could be frustrating for people, as it could turn to a blaming game if we are not able to finish tasks within the time frame agreed on. Story point estimation removes this emotional attachment by removing the link that we can have towards time. As explained earlier, story points estimation takes into consideration the effort needed to accomplish a task. An estimate of the effort involved can be influenced by the amount of work to do, the risk and uncertainty, and the complexity. In terms of amount of work needed, consider the task of folding papers in 2. The first task is to fold 10 papers, and the second task is about folding 100 papers. Although it's the same actions, and the second task is not more complex than the first one, but still, the second task requires more work and should be given more story points. It probably doesn't get 10 times more points, even though there are 10 times as many paper, but it should definitely have more story points. The amount of risk and uncertainty in a user story should affect the story point estimate given to it. If a team is asked to estimate a user story, and if what needs to be done is unclear, then that uncertainty should be reflected in the estimate. And if implementing a user story involves changing a particular piece of old code that has no automated tests in place, for example, that risk should be reflected in the estimate too. Last thing to be considered when estimating is the complexity. Complexity should also be considered when providing a story point estimate. Think back to the earlier example of folding 100 papers instead of 10. Imagine now that the task is to fold 100 paper and make airplanes with it. In this case, even though we are still folding 100 papers, but there is more complexity to it, and it should be reflected in the story point estimation. In most cases, a story point uses the Fibonacci sequence as a scale for sizing. Some teams will use t-shirt sizing as a measure. Story point estimation is typically performed during the product backlog refinement sessions, and the product backlog is evaluated by the team, who is responsible to turn the product backlog items to real customer value. The product owner does not contribute to the estimation, but he will have the responsibility to explain what the product backlog items is about. In order to estimate user stories, each team would have to find 1 or 2 baseline stories as a reference. These user stories don't need to be the smallest ones, but they should be ones that everyone within the team understands and can resonate with. Once defined, estimating all the other user stories should be done by comparing them to the reference user story. So the team will give the reference story a number from the Fibonacci sequence. Then, they will take the other user stories one by one and each time ask, does this user story require more effort than our reference story? If it's the case, they put it after that user story. Or they ask, will it be less effort than the reference story? And if it's the case, then they put it before. The team can then proceed and give story points to the other user stories. If it requires twice as much effort as the reference story, then we give it double amount of story points. If it's twice less, then we give it less. During the estimation session, it is very important to involve everyone in the team: developers, designers, testers. Each team member brings a different perspective on the product and the work required to deliver a user story. I hope this video gave you a good understanding of story points and why we use relative estimation instead of absolute estimation. Please leave us a comment and follow us for more content. Thank you.
Okay. Did you understand the, okay, we'll stop here. Did you understand the general idea of the method to estimate the user store? It really is, but again, when you start, you want to implement this idea is not so easy when you see the video, okay? But again, the thing that you will learn about, you really learning when you use the Scrum or any methodology, agile methodology, it's not you have a very strict approach, okay? Most of the time, you're learning during the process, okay? I believe in the first estimation is not good. That you create is not good. But the second one, you believe, is much better than the first one. The third one is much better than the second and the first one, okay? You're learning during the process. Again, if you have a very experienced guy in the team, the curve to learning is much more flat. But if everybody like you, I believe, you never work with the Scrum or in other agile methodologies, the learning is big. It's like a exponential, something like that. But it happens. Okay. Don't worry if you plan for I believe GT2 use story point, and once because if you see, you didn't define exactly how many hours you work. You define story points, another dimension. However, you need some time to translate what is one story point. Oh, and one story point is 8 hours. One story point is 4 hours. Okay. Because for example, when you work in the sprint, you have 2 weeks, and 2 weeks has a total on specific amounts of hours. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So I will give a break now. Okay. And when we return, we will start a new activity. What is the idea? We create a sprint, okay, and define the start points. We create, okay, you have the user stores already done, I believe. You already have the user store. You need to create tasks to implement at least one user store, okay? Define the creation sprint in the tools and define the amount of the stored points, okay? This activity will have more time to work because you have different things that you need to evaluate, okay? But first, we will have a break. Now is 11:33. We return 11:43, okay?
Yes.
Okay, see you soon, guys.